so it seems like recently the Stellar Blade situation has been getting even worse as, if you guys don't know the news recently, there has been news of a new kind of hire that has been hired at Shift Up, the studio behind Stellar Blade, Nikke, and a bunch of other games. But people are very, very skeptical on, this guy being a part of the project, considering he has listed on his LinkedIn profile that he was a DEI specialist, which is pretty interesting, especially as, for a company like Shift Up who create the games that they do, to kind of hire somebody like that, right? And that has kind of put people in a lot of panic as to, the future of games like Stellar Blade Blood Rain and also some other games that Shift Up have. And just like the Shift Up the entire company too, right? Because of course they've been making great games. They've not been caring about what people say online about their games and things like that, which again has been great. But of course, is this going to change now that this guy is involved with the project? And that's what the real issue that people have is, and people pointing out the fact that he was a big fan of Concord and things like that too, which is very interesting. And one of the big issues that people have been having recently as well with Shift Up is the fact that they've been censoring a lot of stuff. This is one of the big posts that people have been asking. Now you can see on the left, this is the character they have in Nikke right now. They got Makoto, who is obviously from Persona, and this is the one that's in game. This version is the one that's in game, and this is the one that people would have liked to see in the game, right? And obviously Nikke is known for the very crazy characters and things like that. But for some reason with the Persona collab, they've chose to kind of almost purposefully censor it essentially, because you can see how different it looks, right? That is very, very sensitive, and you can see you could still do it with it looking somewhat normal, right, and not over the top. But for some reason, Shift Up for this event decided not to do that, whether it was pressure from like the Persona team to not like kind of make those kind of character designs or whatever, I don't know. But obviously, people said, I'd like to point out that he's Grok on the second image to look up references of her Persona 5 royal character model. The second image is accurate to her design, saying, and people will call you a PDF for pointing that her ass is sensitive and flat, unlike in the original game. So these pest defenders is why the gaming industry is full of DEI pests. Saying using PDF excuse won't work when we're talking about fictional characters. If we were talking about real people, that'd be one thing. That's just a major grift of the opposing side. Plus, I'm sorry, but as an artist myself, I want accuracy to the source. So yeah, obviously people saying thanks, Jerome, which obviously is the person who Shift Up recently hired. Now, of course, this was not their fault. They got hired after all of this has gone on. But people were wondering, is Shift Up making maybe some kind of change, to some of their content, which could potentially affect how much people enjoy it, right? Because this is what they're known for. These kind of character designs is what they're known for. And that's why they're so big, and people want them to continue doing it. I feel like if they don't continue doing it, people aren't going to want to play the games anymore, right? And we've seen with Stellar Blade, like the new Stellar Blade Blood Rain, the trailer looks, pretty good. And of course, lots of people have been excited for that. So again, it's just one of those things where, I hope that they do keep up with the character design that they have been doing. But of course, there was more posts about this saying bad news for Stellar Blade 2. Announced the job yesterday that he removed the focus on DEI and ESG bio from LinkedIn today after it was exposed. So yeah, obviously some people are saying that he's hiding it, right? Saying my prediction may be correct, I'll explain. DEI and Sweet Baby Inc. and BlackRock are all the same group and heavily connected. BlackRock created Sweet Baby Inc. and DEI. They are testing both companies. You'll have to see, you have to look up on Wikipedia to find out who the BlackRock CEO is. They use money and pressure on game developers to change character designs, making them look more average or ugly. This would cause fan backlash and boycotts, or also result in a dead game. The usual method is BlackRock or similar big investors and groups like Sweet Baby Inc. offer studios a few million, sometimes even up to hundreds of million in funding or consulting deals. If the CEO is greedy, they accept the money and they'll stop caring about the original vision or the fans. So they're essentially saying, like, they could be essentially paid off, right? And obviously they talk about Shift Up further down, saying, about Shift Up, they recently hired a DEI person with a clear DEI background. It's unlikely that this was direct money blackmail or a hidden back-end deal. Right now, it just looks like a normal hire, but the community is still watching closely because of his DEI background. So yeah, saying like, oh, I don't know if it is to do with this big like conspiracy or whatever that's going on with them, like paying off companies to like essentially break off on their vision of the game and just kind of do what they want, which I think is interesting, right? Again, obviously that's just their theory, I think, right, or their prediction. Yeah, and they're saying that is the same Frenchman who likes Concord, which, yeah, I think it is very odd. So you got Savvy as well saying, no, we are not doing this. DEI, current and former, is radioactive. I will no longer give Shift Up money. Easiest choice to make. Zero tolerance of DEI. No more snakes in the industry. No more focusing all the wrong things. Get this freak out. So yeah, and a lot of you guys were like that in my comments as well. Obviously, I was saying just to, like, you know, essentially see what happens, right? Essentially see, you know, what goes on. If he does make changes, then I think it is time to, you know, start to, you know, get angry about it. But a lot of you guys were saying, no, let's start now, which I think is fair enough too, right? I think that, you know, just hiring someone in this kind of space and things is pretty worrying. Now, obviously, there was some messages from Jerome themselves responding to a lot of the like backlash and hate that they were getting. And essentially, they said they were a fan of Destiny's Child, which obviously is another game that Shift Up made, which has a lot of fan service and stuff, saying so much so that typical marketing materials had to be censored. How can he be a big fan of games with blatant extreme fan service but still be a DEI advocate? Jerome is lying about something. So yeah, people are wondering, right? Were you just doing this DEI stuff to get money and you were actually a genuine fan of these like kind of high fan service games? Or are you lying about liking games like this to get into the job and to essentially, you know, potentially change the games forever, right? Which of course would not be good. Saying it's almost like, wait a sec, DEI is not inherently a censor weapon. Saying he's lying about Destiny's Child and Shift Up since the beginning. It's also Destiny Child, not Beyonce's former group, which, yeah, I think that is, yeah, Destiny Child, not Destiny's Child. Yeah, then because maybe, just maybe, you and others have no idea what DEI even actually is. You can't just make stuff up to be perpetually outraged for pointless stuff. Saying, so he's a fan of childlike representation of blue content, but is also a DEI advocate. Anyone checked his hard drive lately? And say, lying about being a fan. He's a mole. He's a fan of destroying what we love. So you can see lots of people are very, very skeptical about this guy essentially being a part of the Shift Up team, right? And, you know, a lot of people aren't buying the whole thing about the Destiny Child thing. And, you know, I'm still under the impression of, you know, I'll wait and see if there is any kind of bad things that happen, right? And if it does happen, then it's going to be very, very bad, right? And people aren't going to be happy at all. And yeah, we might have a bigger situation on our hands, right? But obviously, you know, it just depends if something does happen, right? If Stellar Blade ends up getting censored or something like that, then we will know that, well, I think we know where that came from, right? But for now, it seems like nothing has changed with the games itself, which is good. But of course, we'll have to see, like, in the future, as, you know, obviously he's only just joined in his role. So, you know, there's not really any effect taking place yet. But we'll have to see what kind of effect he has on some of the games coming out in the future and some of the updates for stuff like Nikkei and things. Because, yeah, I mean, if we get more updates like this, people are going to get very, very mad, right? Like this was a horrible update, I'm going to be honest. You know, really cool to have a Persona collab, of course. But let's just, you know, let's make it a little bit more realistic. Like, what is that? That just looks horrible. So again, yeah, I mean, that is essentially all there is with the Stellar Blade situation going on at the moment. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to Game Subs, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. That's all. So yeah.